Hello everyone, welcome back. And this episode of Bitcoin Trade is just a straight chart analysis. No relevant news that I would consider. Well, I might have some. I might have some. Something that a news that did come up previously that I've been looking into. Um, and I guess I'll talk about it a little bit um, before I get down to the chart analysis. But there was a recent article um, about some, I guess, essays, letters, or whatever written back in early part of the days of internet creation, um, which when I say I was a part of, that means I experienced it um, probably as a very young person, um, but nothing to the extent of anything that I'm reading now. And I'll show you this right here. Okay, so here it is, and this was in an article recently on cryptocurrency news or crypto coin news, and it was let me see, Lidwo Peter Crypto Anarchy Cyber States and Private Utopias PDF. And so on page, let's see, what page am I on? I'm on 326. I'm literally reading all of it, and there's some really good, compelling parts. There's some that are kind of boring. Um, a lot of interesting things, and you got to remember, or as I'm reading this, I have to realize a lot of this was written back in the 1990s, the early days of the internet, and you know what what I guess was the beginning of what's finally coming to um, reality in some ways. So, um, very compelling, very interesting because I feel, this is the first time I ever read that. And it's basically a very big compilation of people who wrote about, you know, virtual reality, cyberspace, um, legality of cyberspace. I haven't gone through it yet. I'm a little bit over half in reading it, but obviously these were just more than at the time, I guess, experiments or intellectual writings. And lo and behold, about 20 years later, um, you know, I think things are really starting to take hold. It's kind of amazing the amount of time that things take to take hold into our culture, and before it would take an idea um, would take almost 400 to 500 years, before it really takes hold, and then it would take another couple thousand years to really um, be ingrained in the culture of humanity. Now you know, uh, from the 90s to now, that's only about 20 years. Could you imagine going forward how how fast and how accelerated um, the power to change the world uh, can become reality? We may be talking about years, and at some point, it could be days. You just um, voice your uh, grievances, grievances, I guess, or your protest, and now the whole world knows about it. Um, it's not like uh, your ideas or your voice can be suppressed anymore. Um, Now it's your voice carries throughout the whole world, and so I thought that was very interesting. And so a lot of it, so far from what I read, the most compelling that I've read was uh, I think by Tim May. Another one is oh gosh, I don't know the reason I mentioned Tim May because I've read some of his stuff before I got to reading all this. This is a compilation of everyone. Another one was the um, gosh, what was it called? Um, Lambda Moose. I don't know what that is. Maybe I experienced it when I was young and forgot, but the whole idea of creating cyber law and jurisdiction and a system within cyberspace. Um, Another one is how criminals can use cyberspace and encryption. Forgive me if I don't know the authors, but people wrote about these things, and this is 20 years ago, and of course I'm experiencing that right now with uh, you know through Bitcoin. And so I would encourage everyone to have a chance. I'll show it again. And it was in Crypto Coin News. There was an article on Crypto Coin News that had the actual PDF file. There it is, the PDF file. I would recommend you all read it. It's 500 some odd pages. So let's have a look here. Yeah, 508 pages worth. Some of them are just empty spaces, but still, that's a lot of reading. I'm on 326, and so um, it's interesting, and I would say it was the beginning of what is happening now. It probably was or has been happening. It's just that I've gotten into it at a later time, and um, I guess I've never read this until now, but there must be a reason why I'm reading it now, and why I didn't read it 10 years ago. Why, know, um, I didn't read it right when I started using Bitcoin, and why now? And I guess for me, it's just strange how everything just falls into place at the right time in the right sequence, and I don't know what to say, but I can only say that again uh, the invisible hand is at work here. So, anyways, let me go on to a chart analysis. So that's probably what you're all here for, really. And okay, so I mentioned the third wave, and it looks like the third wave is coming. As you can see right here, it's really strong. It's following this 10-period average on a 12-period. This is Bitfin, and I use Bitfin. I trade on all the exchanges, so don't think I'm choosing one over another. The reason I just choose Bitfin is because by volume US dollars or volume Bitcoin to US dollars, it's by volume the largest exchange. And so I understand US dollars because that's what I have. That's what I use. Um, Maybe if I was in China, I'd use Chinese dollars, but I'm not in China. Anyways, the only reason I use Hobu, I think this is called Hobu, or I'll reference Hobu, is because they actually have a US dollar amount converted from the Chinese dollar, so I can understand the price range. This 2583 number doesn't mean a damn thing. I don't know what I can buy with $2,500 worth of Chinese money in China, but I know what I can buy for $408.63 in the U.S. So I do reference this from time to time. Unfortunately, I never talk about Litecoin that much because I don't trade in Litecoin. So sorry for you Litecoin people. But doesn't mean I never used it. I have, but it's you know uh, just right now I just don't trade in Litecoins. So um, let's see here. We saw the first. I think this is probably the first wave. The second going down, and the third wave, and it's a very strong. And it almost reached up to here, which is where it's resisting, of course. And but if it continues, if it managed to continue and break above that, then you got a bona fide third wave, because the third wave is usually higher than the first wave. It has to be, typically. Um, that's from what I understand from wave theorists. So, anyways, so 1, 2, and 3. So it looks pretty good, and not only that, these averages has crossed over. We can pull back to see what effects it has on a longer time frame. And wow, on the daily, it looks really strong. If you look at that, and matter of fact, you can see that it's crossing over. So this is a really strong signal on a daily chart, as you can see, and it's probably going to cross over the next day, because this is a very strong push up, as you can see. Let me see here. Matter of fact, it's almost about the same, slightly higher, but it's really strong. And you can see that it's already crossed over slightly. Well, it's already crossed over. By the time you go into the next day, it will cross over. So the daily is showing a really good sign, really strong too. The fact that it's such a long candlestick is a really solid signal. Let's go into the 3-day, and as you see on the 3-day, you see what happens is that it's basically hit up against this 25 period average, and it's kind of weird how it correlates with the 12-hour, but there you go, and it's hit up, and see what happens from there. It may break right through, or it may stop and bounce up and down a little and then push right through. In either case, it looks like a really strong possibility of breaking through, because of these long gaps here. And anyways, it was bound to happen. Every time you see a long, large gap like this, you could see a push up, very similar to what you see here, and it pushed up here and broke through. So we'll see what happens. If that's the case, I've mentioned 500 as being a target around this price range, but if you look at on a 3-day period, it really looks like the next target would be about 600. Of course, this is a long-term period. If you pull back to a 3-day, or I'm sorry, 1-day, the next target would be $500 right here, and here's your $600 mark. So 600, 500. So these are the next price points, or price where you're going to meet resistance, that it has to break through to continue on to the next price. So right now it's obviously broken through 400, and so which is really good, which is right about here. If it continues on, you could see 500, and then after 500 you could see 600. So again, if assuming that this is a trend reversal, that the sellers have exhausted themselves, and now the trend is reversing on an upward trend. And what would be causing this? We have to consider what's happened in the last few weeks. The seizures of some dark market websites, the mining farm basically catching on fire, destroying, I guess what you would call mining, some mining, maybe allowing others to have a chance at mining now. I have noticed when I do send Bitcoins that it takes longer to show up on the blockchain. I don't know if the fact that the mining pool that caught on fire, or the mining farm that caught on fire, had anything to do with that in particular. Another thing I've noticed, I do trade on local Bitcoin, so I've noticed a lot of traders have been selling at a really, really low price, which I thought was weird. And when I see that, I tend to wonder what's going on, because to some degree, these over-the-counter markets eventually work their way up to an exchange. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, anyways. Um, anyways, I think eventually some of those bitcoins do make their way to an exchange, because for people who want to get into trading in bitcoins, that is probably one of the easiest ways to do it. Unfortunately, you have to be very careful. It's riddled with a lot of these scammers and hackers trying to feed off, fresh meat, I guess you would say. But for the most part, if you find yourself reputable buyers by their feedback, um, 100% feedback with over 100% trades, or over 100 trades, and um, definitely stick to people who are by all means trustworthy. Um, those are probably one of the safest and quickest ways to get bitcoins. Eventually, you'll probably find your way into an exchange, at least, if the plan is to trade them, or if you're using them. I mean, eventually they get to an exchange eventually. So, which I saw, which was really strange, was a lot of traders on local bitcoins um, selling at a really, really low price, which I thought was strange. It told me that they were having a hard time selling their bitcoins. So when I noticed that, I realized, I theorized that if people aren't buying bitcoins, that might mean they're not selling, because people who buy them usually use them or put them into exchange, and I would assume they would either, a couple of things, probably cash out at the exchange, because they want to most likely be selective on where they want to buy, and seeing how the price was being sold off. But now they're not buying to sell. They may be holding on to whatever they have, and they may have accumulated a lot of digital US dollars on some of these exchanges, and now we may be seeing some of the buying starting to happen here, in which the reason why these the people on local bitcoins were not selling. That's why they kept lowering the price. They couldn't move their bitcoins. So it's kind of interesting. The over-the-counter markets like local bitcoins, if you see people desperately trying to sell, it could mean an up move in the market. And when you see people, traders on local bitcoins or any over-the-counter in the market, selling at a higher price, that may mean that the price is going down. They're just trying to recover their cost. I don't know. Just something I noticed, and that I wanted to more or less share with all of you guys. So, you know, totally up to you guys. Excuse me, I'm just looking up something real quick. Sorry. Anyway, so these are some of the things that I noticed. So hopefully this helps you in your trading. If you missed out, I don't think it's too late for anyone. It's never really too late. It's just, where do you want to start trading? I traded. I've been trading since its high and all the way to its low, and you can't. Nothing can be done until you actually take action. So my point is, if you're, whether you are thinking about, excuse me, move around here, whether you're thinking about trading or not trading, or buying or selling, or getting into this trade, you know, nothing can be done until you start actually taking some action. And so, I would stress not to get paralyzed by analysis. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of technical analysis that you could update yourself on, and use, and oscillators and doscillators and oscillators and whatever, lines, triangles, waves. At some point, those are all helpful to know, but at some point, you want to do what's ever comfortable for yourself. And and do what makes sense for you. If if um, if you're into chatter and going onto forums and talking to people, that's one way. It's a way of determining the market, pulse. If it's noticing different trends in over-the-counter markets, do that. Or if it's a little bit of everything, whether it's two average lines crossing over, or lines in general, or supports and resistance. Find something that works well with you, that you're comfortable with, and it may take time, because if you're new at this, your inexperience will cost you, unfortunately. But if under the right circumstance, you learn from those inexperiences, you can probably do really good. Anyways, this concludes my episode. Wow, look at that price. It's really pushing up. It's gone down all the way from 403 to up to 416, really pushing on that 420 mark. Again, 420 is just a number. I'm not saying doesn't represent anything, okay? So I know I mentioned some of my last episodes about 420, and I would get silly little comments here and there, and I don't know if people know who I am from these videos, but I would get trades for one time someone sent me a trade for exactly $420 worth of Bitcoin. I don't know what that means, but at the time when I mentioned 420 last time. But anyways, looks like it's really solid, is what I'm trying to say. The push up is really solid, and it looks like a really good trend going back up now. Like I said, I don't know what's causing it. Could be the seizures of the dark markets. Who knows? Who knows? Also Russia, with their ruble falling and collapsing, and people just don't have a lot of faith in fiat currencies, to the point where people are abandoning the monetary system to some degree. Wait, I did want to bring up one short article. Let me do that before I close out here. Hold on. I'm just pulling up the website right now, and I originally saw this on Business Insider, but Crypto Coins News came out with it, and so I'll just go ahead and just use them. Anyways, I don't know who this guy is. Raoul Paul thinks Bitcoin price will be 100,000 or even 1 million. I saw the video in what he was talking about. This is, I guess, a while ago when this interview happened, but I guess it's coming out now for some reason. But the reason why 100,000 was mentioned, he said it in his interview, that if he was 90% wrong, the price of Bitcoin would still be 100,000. And he's not the first person to mention a very large number in regards to the price of Bitcoin. But I've said even more outrageous number. I've said infinity, meaning that nobody would. There'll come a time when you are not able to buy a Bitcoin or trade a Bitcoin. Nobody's interested in how many cars you have. No one's interested in your big house, or how many office buildings you own, or how many yachts. They don't care how much land you have. You couldn't trade your life. Literally, you're not going to be able to trade for your life. So, 1 million, yeah, I think that's definitely possible. because what I'm saying is to infinity. So I just want to bring that up, and of course I mentioned that several times, and I'll mention it again. But let me see if there's a link. I think there was a video. It was from the Business Insider. Let me see if I can find the actual. Okay, I found it right here. So the Business Insider is where I first saw this, and there's the gentleman right there. So you can take a look at his, see what he looks like, and looks pretty happy right there. Pretty sharp, pretty casual guy. Looks like he's not worried about a damn thing. Okay, so well, if this thing will ever let me scroll down. Some websites I really hate. I don't know why. It just. All right, there it is. So. Okay, so there it is. There's the video of it, and he talks a lot about a lot of different things. But I think it's worth watching. It's nice to know someone else's perspective and opinions on uh, on this whole idea and notion of what is value, where does it come from, what is money, and the future of money. Anyways, I'm gonna end this episode here. See where the price is now. Well, it's getting up there. It's getting up there. Anyways, feel free to like, dislike, or even leave a comment, or do a video response. Till next time, stay tuned. Bye now.